guest on Canvas Commentary is Laura Thompson, an artist who creates whimsical and thought-provoking collages that blend vintage magazine imagery with painted floral backgrounds. Her work transforms familiar scenes into surrealist narratives filled with humor, curiosity, and unexpected connections. Through playful compositions, Laura explores themes such as social justice, human connection, inclusion, feminism, and our relationship with the natural world. I'm excited to learn more about her creative process and the story behind her remarkable work. On to the episode. Hello, Miss Laura. Welcome to Canvas Commentary. How was your day today?
So far, so good. Not a whole lot going on. Just getting ready to chat with you.
Yes, I'm so excited. So you are Lauren's, I forget how he calls it, your art partner,
Partners, yeah,
your
yeah.
partners. So we're excited to have you, especially that, Laura, you are on, and then we're talking to his actual wife here soon. So we're going to have the whole Loring family be on Canvas Commentary. I'm so excited. Um, so, uh, so, when did you first realize that art was more than a hobby just for you?
So I came to JMU in 1998, undeclared, and
Oh,
happened to be. I had always loved art as a kid. I had like done an independent study in middle school because my teacher kind of saw that I had some talent and drive. But basically, the message that I always got was like, art is not a career. Art is something that you can do
hmm.
if you want to. But I happened to be placed as a work study recipient in the art building, do call at JMU, just completely randomly. As I could have been placed anywhere, and I just think this is
Yeah.
one of those kind of serendipitous moments for me because I was then 10 hours a week just delivering stuff from the I was basically an office gopher, so I was delivering things around the school and got to see all of the different things that were happening, and had never even thought of art as like something that I could really pursue. And I came across like graphic design as a way that you can do art and make money, and thought like, oh, that's like an actual career that I could do. And I like art, and so I just, having been placed there randomly, was kind of the little door that I needed. So I applied to the school my freshman year and started doing art classes sophomore year, and that was sort of the first opportunity I had to see that art is something that creativity can be used in a daily career,
Yes.
environment. So yeah, that was basically.
Wow. So how long have you done art professionally then?
So while I was in college, of course, I was on the graphic design track, which is a little bit different. But then I was in an art criticism class and met Kathy Schwartz, Dr. Kathy Schwartz.
Hmm.
She is retired now, obviously, because that was a long time ago. But she was instrumental in like pulling me into the art education program. She's like, "You'd be a great teacher," and I was like, "I will never teach. I don't want to do that." And then I found myself in there, and so then I was starting to take, as an art educator, you have to take all sorts of different media classes. So you can't just focus on painting, or I couldn't just have a graphic design. I had to take fibers, and I had to take screen printing, and I had to take photography, and I had to take all these things, and so all of a sudden I found myself more immersed in art making. And I took a stained glass class during one of
Oh,
the summers, and really fell in love with that medium. And so that was the first foray into professional art making that I did. I had some pieces in galleries. I used to make like stained glass earrings. I would sell them in like Asheville. I had some things in like Stanton, and really just trying to kind of push my art out there. But this is like 2003. So
okay.
I had to take a Dreamweaver class to make a website. Like it was not as easy as it is now. Now you can just basically, sign up on any, web provider and just like put together a website in like half a minute. And I had to, take a whole course to figure out how to do that. But yeah, that was when I would consider myself really pushing to be an artist and actually make money at it and try to get my work out there. But so right after college, but I still had to have like day jobs and stuff too. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, I still have like five multiple day jobs at the time. Um, so to introduce yourself, what is your artistic style and how do you describe that in your own words for the audience?
so after lots of evolution, obviously, I
Uh-huh.
don't do stained glass anymore. But my medium that I am currently obsessed with is mixed media collage. I create
Okay.
surreal little worlds using vintage magazine images on painted backgrounds. So um,
Oh.
I I have developed this style over the past 5 years, and it sort of came out of a like a hiatus. I was an art teacher, so I was in art education. Then I went into teaching art for 13 years. Kind of burnout on that. Found myself a graphic design related position in a marketing department of an organic food company. So I was there for 5 years, and like during that transition, I just kind of stopped making art because I don't know, was learning all sorts of new things, and it just kind of like fell off. And the pandemic happened during that time too, so it's just like a
Yeah.
weird time. So when I finally came back to art, I had been doing a lot of oil painting, sort of still life, humor based still life, but I just didn't want to do that again. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go back to my stained glass roots with some of the more abstracted lines and color palettes and things that I had done with that, but without the glass and the shards and the hot, soldering irons. So I decided to
Mhm.
paint with acrylics again. And then I like got this whole thing done and I was like, this is so boring. Like it didn't stand on its own. And Loring, of course, like, I mean, I
Okay.
can really credit him for, pushing me back into art. He was like giving me little assignments so that I would, do sketchbook things. He's like, just like make stuff. It doesn't matter because that's his whole thing, right? Like just get your hands
Uh-huh.
dirty, make stuff. And I had cut out these little pieces, from a magazine, thinking I would put them together in just like a little collage page in my sketchbook. And I like pulled out this little envelope and I just like started like laying things down. And I was like, oh my God. Like I don't know, like I just blew everything wide open. And I realized like, oh, that combination is just so interesting and compelling. And like, I love surrealism. I've always loved surrealism. And it was just it's like for me it's like this it's almost like a shortcut to surrealism because the magazine images like do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it's still like a huge editing process. And there's a lot of different components to my work now, like a different processes that I use. And I don't know, I just once that came together for me, I've just been doing these for 5 years. And my most recent work, like this piece that I have behind me, which is not finished, it's not my most
I
recent
was
finished
gonna
work,
ask.
it's my most recent almost finished work. um, it is like floral or some sort of plant element, and then having these characters sort of like interacting in this combination that is in some way has carries some sort of theme. And the pictures that I find are what drive the theme. I don't really go into it knowing what I don't how can I possibly know? I've got a whole library full of these little pieces. So
Hmm.
um, so all I can really do is control the background, and then I can edit the collage elements. But it's still a very, um, it's like a dialogue between me and the magazine images and the background, and it's a really fun. It's a scavenger hunt and it's a puzzle, and I don't know. I'm just really really having fun with it.
Oh wow. So you kind of touched on one of the questions, and I'm going to open that question up a little. Um, from your creative process, what does that look like? And so you start with the pictures. Do you like, ooh, I really like this one, and you try to fit it around? Like, explain your creative process and how it works.
So So I would say there's like four different parts to my creative process. So I have
Okay.
background painting, so whatever color is like the base for the painting, and then I have the floral element painting, or in some cases I have done more abstract like lines and shapes to create some
Okay.
sort of structure for the pieces to sit on. So it's background and then like structure, and then it's pieces like scavenging for pieces, and then it's puzzling them together. So
Okay.
so a finished background would have the colors, the paint only, and then from there I start going through my collection and I just pull out any any images that I think could work. So a lot of times it's driven by color. So it's just like, in a piece that has like really light colors or something, I'm not going to have like a lot of like bright red characters, for instance, in it. So, or
Yeah.
people wearing red. So just trying to kind of like let the color drive it. In some cases, I use black and white images. So then it's just like the color is reserved for the background, and then all the elements are black and white. But
Oh.
that said, I mean, literally just have no idea what theme will emerge most of
Hmm.
the time. There has been one, which we'll see in my favorite piece, where I found this Great Dane that was like a full size page of a large format Life magazine. And it was just a perfect specimen for my work, but he was huge, and I had been working fairly small at that point. And so that was what drove me to start figuring out how to work larger. And that's where really the floral elements came in, because if you work really large with collage,
Hmm.
it can get visually overwhelming very quickly
Yeah.
because I don't reproduce any of my imagery. So whatever I find in the magazine, whatever size it is, whatever direction it's facing, whatever color it is, it stays that way. That is part of my I guess part of my process is I don't change anything from those magazines, and I want them to be authentically from those publications from the 1940s to 70s. So
Wow.
I have I have to be very careful how I use them, and I don't want to use 1,000 of them to like visually overwhelm people. So that's where the floral elements came in, where I can have some larger elements that will support the smaller ones.
I was going to ask you about the flowers. Like, what made you l- uh, what made you pick the flowers compared to, it could be shapes, it could be, there's many things that you could pick. What made you pick the flowers for you?
I
Or
think
did it just feel right?
um I mean, this is another thing that like Loring and I have in common. My mom passed away a few years ago,
Uh,
and she wasn't like a master gardener, but she always loved flowers. And I think I realized, as we were cleaning out the house that my parents shared for 50 years, I'm finding these like gardening books, and there's like little notes in the corner, and I'm just realizing like how,
oh,
even though she wasn't like super good at it, she just like I didn't realize this. I learned names of flowers that like people don't know, just because she would say like, oh, that's a petunia, and that's a lilac, and this is whatever. And so I think it just occurred to me that and of course, like as far as influences go, Georgia O'Keeffe. I mean, I did a,
hmm.
like a continuing ed class just on Georgia O'Keeffe at one point. She's a huge inspiration for so many different reasons, but I think I like that flowers are sort of like they're feminine, they're beautiful. And what I really love is that people will look at my work and first they just see flowers. And
Hmm.
so that's like whether or not that attracts or repels them, right? Some people just don't care about flowers, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Some people will look at my work, and I mean, I go to a lot of art festivals, so I really watch people interact with my work a lot. And they'll be like, "Oh, look at those pretty flowers," and then they'll be like, "Wait, are those people?" And so it's like this like discovery. And I think I mean, I just love the beauty of the flowers. Like, I love that there's all different colors and types, and I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I think that there's that connection with my mom a little bit, but I love that there's so much variety, and that
Yeah.
because they're also like placemaking in a way. My work isn't really placemaking, and in some ways that people paint landscapes of the Shenandoah Valley. Well, like that's a
Yeah.
very, that's about this place. And but plants and flowers are also like either native or common in different areas. And so it's sort of my way of being able to identify a little bit. So I've done like dogwood flowers and magnolia flowers, and and then I have like a daylily one, and I just went up to New York, and it's like, oh, daylilies are like very popular in New York too. So like it's not necessarily specific to a region
Hmm.
necessarily, but people kind of identify with them in different ways. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's why I
No,
tend
it
towards
it
flowers.
really does because and I maybe I'm putting these words in your mouth, but plants seem to be the most organic, non-organic things in the world that, a branch goes one, like just the example of your picture, right? Like people are gonna think I'm crazy because my eyes are everywhere because I'm staring at your painting behind you. But the each branch has a scientific way of why it's sprouting, but it's so organic in the same time that you can just fill a painting with those organic shapes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get you. I'm
Yeah.
getting you.
Yeah, well, right, because I can like now at this point I've done this enough that I understand like how to take pictures. Like this, by the way, this the painting behind me has a variegated ficus on it. I took
Okay.
this picture in the vestibule on the way into Home Depot.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I saw these plants and I was like, oh, I freaking love that plant. Like I just love variegated plants because I'm so fascinated. It's like they're like little artworks in themselves because of all the
Uh-huh.
different colors and things. And so I'm in there like I'm the weirdo in the vestibule of Home Depot, like turning the plant, putting it on the ground, and like getting down on the ground and like taking pictures from different angles because I kind of know what I need in order to support the characters that I am trying to like incorporate. So yeah, so that's yeah, I mean, I will find inspiration. I take my dog on walks, and I will, as the seasons change and I go through the neighborhood, even though I'm going like the same basic path most of the time, like I can find new flowers and new angles and things. And not everything obviously makes it into an artwork, but I mean, I don't know. I painted that background not really knowing what was going to go on top of it, and it's a very light color, sort of rainbow, like super light pink down to like a super light green, but really vibrant color, but really pale. And then there was something about this combination that I was like, oh, and I just kind of, yeah. So sometimes I can just latch onto things and
It's
they run away
beautiful.
with me.
So in your paintings, we talked about the inspiration behind them, but what themes do you touch with in your paintings?
Yeah. I mean, one thing, so the imagery that I use is from mostly the 1940s to 70s. Sometimes the 30s will sneak in. I don't, to my knowledge, haven't used any that are more recent than the 70s. There is a certain quality of that era, as well as a certain way that women are portrayed.
Mhm.
Obviously, as a woman artist and as a woman in the world, that also relates back to my mother because she was born in 1946, and
Okay.
so she was in her formative years was in the 1950s and 60s, and there is a way that women are portrayed in those times that is the like prim and proper. You must be thin, you must be beautiful, you must keep house, you don't really have any other options, your whole purpose is to make your husband happy and to pretend like everything's fine, do all the things and never complain and never be unsatisfied. Um, and and the way that they depict women in that time really shows, like, really kind of highlights those things, right? So
Hmm.
all of the ads, about like, don't you want to be thin for your husband? Or like, oh, everything that is a household product is about you doing the thing. Like it's like, you don't want your dishpan hands, right, with palm olive or whatever, because
Yeah.
your husband doesn't want you to have wrinkles on your hand, or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's this satisfaction that I get from taking those people out of that context and out of that social commentary and dropping them into these like worlds that are complete, like fantastical, right? Because
Uh-huh.
now they don't have to be in that role anymore. Now they have a new role. So some of my pieces like Dogwood, which is one of the ones that you'll
Mhm.
I guess, be showing later. That one started with that Great Dane, and then it just became like it was a dogwood flower, and that's covered in dogs. And like there's something about that simple pun that just like makes me happy, because it doesn't, when people get it, they get it, and some people never get it, and that's fine too because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
cute dogs. Um, but this idea of so some of them are a little bit like I guess more just playful and absurd and unusual, and then some of them like this piece. I found these women. I had this one picture of this woman like sleeping, and I thought she was going to be somewhere else in a different piece, and I pulled her out, and I'm like looking for all these pieces. I'm trying to figure out like what goes on this, like how do I make this, how do I bring this idea together? And I'm looking through, and I have these little. I mean, I don't know, thousands, I'm sure, of different images, and I have them all in different folders. So like I have one on animals, but I have like big animals, small animals, and I have like one for cats and one for dogs, and I have one that's like people. I say by color, but I mean like by whatever color they're wearing. So like if I want people dressed in pink or people dressed in blue or whatever, and I had one people dressed in white, and I found all these little sleeping women who I guess were like in a mattress ad. And
Oh,
so I
wow.
ended up incorporating all of these little sleeping women. And then I'm thinking about, like, as I'm working, I'm like, so, like, why are they sleeping? And then I'm just thinking about our current state of the world and state of this country. And not to get super political, but the title just came to me, and it was like, Wake Me When This Is Over. Like, I don't want to be here. I just want to, like, live through this and, like, make it to the other side. And so that is what this piece became, but it was because of the color that like drove which pieces I used. And those are some of the things. Like a lot of my stuff ends up being like social justice related, women's rights related, sort of motherhood related, or just feeling the weight of responsibility and sort of like being over it. Just our relationship with the planet, our relationship with animals and the planet.
Mhm.
So I have like one that I found this picture, this ad for turf that with these two men were fighting, like both pulling on a square of turf. I mean, this is like, you can't make this up. Found this ad, and I ended up putting them onto an image that then had a lot of like wild animals sort of surrounding them. And I put a little pile of coins on the turf. So, and it's
Uh-huh.
called Turf Wars, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
two guys fighting over land and money, and all of the innocent animals just sort of around them, like kind of like observing this and having to witness
Wow.
this and being affected by this. And so I think there's always a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek. There's always some sort of statement I'm really trying to make with most of my work, but not all of it, which I think is fun because I guess keep people guessing, I suppose. Yeah.
So, what would your 16-year-old self think of your current work?
Man, I don't know. I think she'd be impressed. I think she'd be shocked that I was doing this, that I was on this journey as a full-time artist
Um,
because she was told like it wasn't even an option. It was
yeah.
like what business school are you going to? Or it was
Yes.
never really something that she would have um, thought was possible. So I mean, when I was in high school, when I was, I didn't take art until my junior year of high school because my mom really liked going to chorus concerts. So I did chorus for the first 3 years. Like my junior year, I took chorus and art, and then my senior year, I just switched over to art. So I never went past art too because I just I made that choice because for my mom, which is really funny to think about. I never stopped like drawing and stuff, but and I knew I had talent, but it was like that I don't know. I don't know. There was no like, what do I do with this? Like, this isn't going to get me anywhere, kind of thing, you know. So there wasn't. Yeah, I think she would just be like pretty surprised mostly, and I think, I mean, frankly, I'm super proud of the work that I'm doing now compared to the work that I started doing 2 years ago. You know, like
Mhm.
my evolution, I can see my evolution, and that has been wild. Because I also paint murals, and so because I'm
Oh,
painting pretty frequently as a job, like there is no like, oh, this is hard, I don't want to do this anymore. Like if you're in the middle of a mural, you just have to figure it out because like time is money. You can't just sit there and like stare at something. You know, you just have to work
mhm.
through it. And I feel like I've gotten really a lot more skilled with painting just because I've had to, in a way. So yeah, I think, I don't know. I think even like, 44-year-old Laura 2 years ago would be surprised at where I am now.
Wow. Have you overcome any fears as an artist?
I don't know if it's fear. I think I've always been a little bit like, not fearless, but like I've always faced fear head on. I have
Hmm.
not let it keep me from doing things. One of my favorite mantras is bigger dummies than me. Um,
Oh,
because like for instance, the first mural that I ever did, like the first professional large scale mural I ever did, I had to have a scissor lift. And I just like did it. Like there wasn't like, ooh, like I've never driven a scissor lift, or like, oh, it was just like, yeah, I can figure it out. Like surely somebody who's a lot dumber than I have done, than I am, that has figured this out, like I
hmm.
just and like, the whole idea of like the mediocre white man has really just keeps me going because it's like there's all these like, no offense, but like there's a bunch of dudes out there like doing stuff that aren't very good at it, and they can get away with it, so like why can't I? There's sort of I try to, it's like keeping my imposter syndrome in check by just being
Hmm.
like, I am a smart, intelligent person. I have good ideas. I'm doing something interesting. So, like, why not me too? And I've really just kind of put myself out there in a lot of different ways. And luckily, I have the, I guess the advantage. I don't know if it's an advantage, but I'm an extrovert, uh,
Okay.
mostly, so that really helps. Like I started when I started doing art full time, I started going to like business networking events, and just people be like, what do you do? I'm an artist. Like, which is a weird thing for you to say when like the guy next to you does like HVAC.
Mhm.
It's a very different career, but I mean, by putting myself out there and saying like, these are the things that I'm doing, these are the types of clients that I'm interested in working with, until you tell people what it is that you're looking for, they're not going to know.
Yeah. And I give you some props because I can tell you're an extrovert. Maybe Loring helped too, but you are the first person who was like, I want to do this. Let's sign up next week. Most people are like, oh yeah, let's think about it and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, no, let's do it next week.
Oh yeah, no, I love these opportunities because I don't know, like how else do people figure out? I mean, if I can help one other artist be like, oh, I could drive a scissor lift too,
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I think that's so important. We need to like lift each other up, which is why I think Loring and I are such a good, partnership, is
mhm.
because, we're both out there just like, you want to do art? Like, what can I do to help you do art? Or like, what do you need to hear in order for you to like take that first step?
Mhm. Do you build or do you create more for yourself or for an audience?
Hmm. my process is for me and my result is for my audience, if that makes sense.
Yes, that
I
does.
Yeah, like what now that I'm so each this is my fourth year in business doing this full time, and it's like my first year was like, I mean, I tried everything. It was just like throwing spaghetti at the wall trying to figure out what would work. My second year was okay, I'm going to focus on, these like three things. I'm going to make art, I'm going to teach classes, and I'm going to paint murals. And those are the three, income streams I'm really going to focus on. And then last year, I was like, I'm going to try to go real hard on murals because I'm finding like that's the biggest bang for my buck. And if I could get, murals, then it frees up my time to like paint in the studio or whatever. And then this year I was like, you know what? I'm not going to teach. I am going to go full force into like selling my art. So I'm going to go to more festivals. I sort of invested in my tent, my booth,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and and that has been a really interesting experience. I've learned a ton, but I also realize that the best way to get my work in front of people is to actually like to be there with it. It's
Mhm.
a really great opportunity to interact with people, and like because my work is unusual, it's not just like, oh, it's a sunset. Obviously everybody can appreciate a sunset. Well, my stuff is not a sunset and takes a little bit of extra explanation, I guess, or it helps when people kind of learn about it. So what I've realized is that in order to be successful at that, like I have to figure out like what it is that people want. And what I'm finding is that having these interactions and the sales, being able to kind of track like, okay, what is selling and what is not selling is really helpful to determine what I'm going to be working on moving forward. And I sold, I went to a show and I sold two of my larger plant forward pieces and thought, okay,
Mhm.
like that's the signal that I needed. Like I need to do more of those. Um, am I going to sell those every single time? No, probably not. So like I also do these little tiny oval framed. They're Italian vintage metal frames, and I call them art
Oh.
sacks because the frame, including the frame, they're like 4x6, so they're tiny, but they're original mixed media collage as well, and like I sell those pretty regularly. So like just okay, so I need to, I'm down to I think two of those. I think I was looking back and I think I've sold like 20 of them over the years, so need to make more of those. So I am making to sell,
Okay.
and I'm making for the audience to want to buy, but I'm not losing my way, I think.
Yeah.
Because for me it's the challenge of like, okay, how can I continue to grow as an artist and really push the boundaries and make work that other people are going to want? Because if I
Mhm.
can't sell my work, that's I want it to be in the world. I want people to appreciate it and look at it every day and maybe laugh or find something new to look at each time. And so it's a combination of things, like the process itself. Like if the process wasn't so fun, maybe it would be
Mhm.
less enjoyable. But I mean, I don't know, I'm just really having fun with it, and the better I get, the more fun it is, and the better I get, the more sellable it is. So luckily that goes hand in hand, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't
Um, what theme, what are you obsessed with right now?
know. I mean, just my process, I guess.
Okay.
It's weird. Like every time I think, I'm like, man, am I gonna run out of magazine images? Well, and I also use like books and stuff. Like Time Life did a series of books in the '60s also. So if I can find those,
Oh, perfect.
like I mean, I don't think I'm gonna run out of stuff, but like every once in a while, I have like, what if I get to a piece and I'm putting it together and I can't find the pieces for it, and
Mhm.
I don't. I mean, then I guess I just have a new problem to solve. Like I'm huge on problem solving. That is like the challenge of trying to figure something out is like what has driven me in all different areas of my life, and in business as well, which I think why I like being an entrepreneur, because it's like, okay, I have to like get through this. There's no way to get around it. I have to just like figure this problem out. So I mean, I think for me, it's like, it's just honing this style. Like I just, um, every piece I make, I'm like a little surprised. Like I don't know how to, like, that sounds so like, I don't know, maybe I sound super, what's the word? Conceited, or I don't know. I'm just,
No.
it does feel like the muse, like I'm not even, like I'm not in control of it. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever had that feeling with your art, like it's moving through you and you're just the vessel. I know I've heard other artists say that, and I don't think I ever really felt that until now with this new work that I'm doing. Like really feeling like I'm
Oh,
not I'm not even, I'm like only partly present here, you know? Just
yeah.
somehow this work is being completed, and I am like, I'm in awe of the things that I am doing right now. And like, I don't know, that's just it's like a magical feeling. I don't know, it's weird.
Has there been an art piece that has changed you or inspired you?
Of my own.
It can, when I wrote this question, I thought as external,
Okay.
but it can be a painting you did. You take the question any way you like.
Okay. Man, I don't know. I've been such a consumer of art, especially as an art teacher. I was
Mhm.
constantly looking for artwork to show my students, and different, like why different artists make different types of things. So I think I've just kind of been like inundated, like I was always the one who was like, oh, here's the project, you could do it this way or this way or this way or this way. Like I didn't want
Yeah,
to box anyone in, but I almost like probably maybe gave too many, options. um I mean, I can't think of one specifically that like changed my life. I mean, I remember seeing Dali when I was like in high school, which is like, I
no.
don't know, it's like kind of cliche, right? I mean, Dali,
Okay.
whatever. Now that I'm a little bit more well versed in like women artists from the time, like I'm kind of over like Dali and, Picasso, whatever, like Monet, like I get what they were doing, but also there were like women at the same time doing stuff that never got any credit for it, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think just like the idea of surrealism, and that, and Dada, like both of those movements. I think this idea that, like, Dada, born out of World War I and like the atrocities of that horrific war, and all of a sudden artists are just like taking objects and like turning them, on their side, and then the whole question is like, what is art, and like what is the point of art, and like if I do this, is this considered art? Hannah Hawk is another, like she was doing these like really bizarre collages, so like that's a, so I can't really think of a specific one, but I will tell you that I went to LA a couple like last year or the year before with my daughter, and we went to a museum there, and there was, I'm sure like somebody will know the name of this, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it was a giant table with chairs so that you could like walk under the table, and it made you feel
Oh,
like you were tiny.
that's so cool.
I love 3D art. Like, I obviously make 2D, but I love I love immersive art like that. And as far as like what I'm doing now with my work, where it looks like tiny people on, plants and flowers, like I had so much joy walking through that, because it was like a way of experiencing one of my works in a physical sense, because I was like the tiny thing walking under the table, and like you felt like I could be a cat, or like maybe I'm just, there was this cartoon called I think it was called The Littles. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, and they like lived in the walls maybe, and like made things out of like bobbins and whatever, like furniture and stuff. And I always kind of think of that, and like I don't know what, from the whole like 80s round, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And
Mhm.
anyway, I don't know.
Or
There's something about that whimsical, like being out of your element and being sort of plunged into a different sort of reality that I really enjoy.
Were you talking about Robert Theron's Under the Table?
Yeah, I'm sure that was it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's so
just did
fun.
a search and
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
fun, interactive. I mean, like, and that's one of those things too. Like, would I want that in my home? No, because I can't fit that in my home. Um, but do I like love the way that it felt to walk among that? You know, I think that that's what we consume art for. You know, is
yeah.
the way it makes us feel. So yeah, that's one that I would say like just kind of brought things home for me with my
Hmm.
work. Like, oh yeah, this is the feeling I want people to have when they look at my work.
Yeah. I like his plates. I just saw a picture of his plate stacked up. Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing
Uh,
what I don't know what people do, truly.
yeah. So this section is called Art Crush. We got to the section. So, uh, what or who or what influenced your artistic journey the most?
Hmm. Man, I would have to say, I mean, Frida Kahlo, again, a little bit cliche,
No.
only because she's one of the few women who was recognized for her work while she was still alive.
Yeah.
But you know, I think part of it for because I mean, I don't know, she's incredible. She lived this incredible, like, rebellious life while being in chronic pain. She developed her own style that was never replicated really by anyone else. I mean, she falls a little bit into folk art, but she still had like a surreal quality to it. She was always her own person, and she never compromised on that. I would say probably and just learning about her. Like I went to I believe it was I think it was at the VMFA in Richmond. They had a Frida Kahlo exhibit. And it was some of her work, but it was also like photography that had been taken of her by like her close friends and just like mostly about her life. Um, and just like you know she had such strong convictions and I do feel like that is part of my work. I'm starting to feel more comfortable like sharing my thoughts and ideologies a little bit more, like
Mhm.
realizing like I think without that element it's really hard to see the depth of meaning in maybe any artist's artwork, but certainly mine, because mine like at first glance is like, oh, isn't that funny? Or like,
Yeah.
what a strange little thing, you know, and to really feel comfortable kind of sharing like this is why I've chosen, for instance, like the sleeping women. Like it's not just like, oh, they're sleeping on a plant. It's like there's this, you know, bigger message behind it. So I would
Mhm.
say probably, yeah, probably Frida Kahlo, but any of the women surrealists like Leonora Carrington and Dorothea Tanning, like I mean, they were doing incredible things, and you know, they just didn't get a lot of attention for it. Frida, of course, got a lot of attention because of Diego, you know, which is stupid,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
but you know, it was a different time, and I'm just hoping that things are moving in a little bit more of a fair direction.
I think they are because look at the portraits that are coming up of presidents and portraits of they're all women. Gabby,
I just saw this the Obama portrait. Obama.
her too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but they are getting recognized for y- you know, great talent. And the new Obama portrait, I sent it to a friend because it's such a genius concept of having many micro pictures inside of a big picture. It's so genius.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's genius and it's absolutely stunning. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and just more like more people of color be yeah. I think that, yeah, obviously there is a movement towards that. there's always going to be a disparity. And I just wonder, I mean, I wonder, like, the National Gallery that is, holds, like, the West Wing, right, is all like classic art. Like, how can you,
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard to change um, the percentages in something like that, because maybe there is an art from that time that survived that is done by, people who aren't, European
Yeah.
white, whatever. But like, but in more modern galleries and things, like, I do think that there is a push for that. And there's plenty of, smaller galleries now that are like committed to, 50% or more women, being represented in their artist lineup. So hopefully,
Yeah.
I mean, and I, it's one of those things, like, I'm not saying like, oh, it should be more women, I'm just saying, like, it should be merit based.
Yeah.
But also merit should be considered in different ways, because there's a lot of women doing, like, fibers and doing some incredible work. We've got some here in Harrisonburg that are doing incredible fibers work. Ruby Hastetler and Joanne McGranahan are two of those people, like, who are taking these, like, traditionally, like, female or like crafty things, and really doing like incredible art with them. And so I feel like, that needs to be, there's a shift that needs to be made in order to see that as art first, because a lot of times it's like, well, it's not painting. It's like, well, but everything is painting. So once you can, that question of what is art is, I mean, I could talk for days about what it is and why, what I think it is, what other people think it is. And, but it's an important issue. And I just think it's important for me to be vocal about it, in any way that I can be.
Well, every artist, like, I think that's really cool. And I think it's really cool if you look at the context of where we're at. Most artists now, there is artist magazines who are run by women. Create Magazine, Visionary Art Collective, that shout out Victoria Fry, who is one of my mentors. It's amazing. And they specifically, and I don't know if it's run by women, but New American Painting, but they always have a women's edition and stuff like that to show the talents of, and there is the women have a diverse interest of what is called art. And so it is kind of cool to see what, This next section is called Two on an Easel. What is your last piece and what is your favorite piece?
All right. So the last piece that I finished, is called, Daylili's Daydream.
Okay.
And it is a triptych. It is 3 24-inch by 48-inch panels, that are together. And it is large daylilies, bright orange daylilies on sort of a moody blue background. And the imagery of the collage elements that I included sort of have that same sort of an orangey tint to them. And this is, like all of my work, it's, I was just trying to find pieces that fit and what would be compelling and how to balance everything. A lot of it has to do with, like, like the formal qualities of art, like how do you use, scale and color and line and balance. I do a lot with gaze. So who is looking at who is not interacting with anyone, who is, what directions are people looking, and like, what does that mean? And this one kind of ended up being a little bit about like class, because there's this couple that is standing on one of the petals that is, like a tuxedoed man and this woman in this elegant dress, and they're sort of looking down, at they're sort of up higher in the
Yes.
Composition, and then they're sort of like almost like looking down their noses towards the bottom. And those people down there are just like regular people doing their thing, you know, like just like living their life. And then there's another woman who's like sort of elegant, like looks like she's modeling clothing, or she's just like a little bit more hoity-toity than the rest of them. And so this idea that like these elements exist, you know, this, you know, if you want to call it the 1% or whatever, there's these people in the
Mhm.
world that are living this like alternative reality, and everybody else is just like trying to make their way. And yet these people are sort of at the top, like pulling strings and looking down and like keeping those other people low. So that again, like that wouldn't I wouldn't have known that that's what how that would have turned out. But you know, I think about like when you think about your life, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like the fragments of your life, right? We have things that happen to us. We have things that we do, mistakes that we make, things that we accomplish. We have all these like disparate, sort of seemingly disparate pieces. And the only way to kind of make sense of them is to look back and go, oh, you know, like that's why that happened, you know? Um,
Mhm.
for instance, like I have been divorced, and that relationship, that split really changed my perspective on people. Like, you know, I had felt very, I was a very trusting person. And that allowed me to like be a little less naive about the world and understand that like not everybody has great intentions, you know, and not
Mhm.
everybody is going to act with integrity. And I needed that lesson to kind of harden myself, because I was just so optimistic. I don't know. I just like, I was like, oh, but like you would, like people would never do that. And now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, and yes, it was awful. It was terrible. Like going through that was not something that I would wish upon, you know, an enemy. But like, but now I can look back on it and go, oh, that's a piece of me that needed to be like the puzzle piece that needed to be put in place, you know, in order to kind of get to
Yeah.
where I am now. And that's kind of how I look at my work. And so that this current, you know, that's I'm feeling like I'm really getting a handle on that as I start doing these newer pieces, because I trust the process to guide the theme, even if I'm not really sure what the theme is going to be. Like I know that by the
Mm.
time I'm finished with something, I will understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not really sure where I'm going at the time. And so, and I think that's kind of how like I look at life. Like you can make choices and you can like make your own luck, but there are just sometimes that things happen, and you know, you have to kind of make sense of those things. So yeah, so that's my most recent piece.
And uh we talked about the your favorite, which is the dogs,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. We'll put that picture here.
Wonderful.
Um and if you have any more, send them to me because I would love to just sporadically put more pictures.
Yeah.
Where can we find you and support your work?
So I have a website that has all of my available originals and lots of other things that you can get, like prints and merch. Like you can buy like tote bags and other things with my work on it. That is www.realcreative.studio. And you can find me on Instagram at realcreative.studio, and Facebook, Real Creative Studio VA. Where else can you find me? You can find me, I don't know, just I just started a Substack. Um,
Oh,
so I have that link on my Instagram as well. So you can find, if you go to my
okay.
Instagram, you can find all of these links. Facebook, I don't, you know, I kind of like post to Facebook because it's part of Instagram, but you know, I'm on there if somebody like messages me or whatever. But yeah, I'm around. Right now I have an installation that is partly framed pieces and then partly a mural that is up at the Frame Factory in Harrisonburg that is going to be up through the end of this month. And I believe
Yeah.
on the 27th, I think I'll have to maybe check that. I'm going to just be painting over that mural. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I did this mural, and I actually blew up some of the images that are from the framed pieces, and I created vinyl, like matte vinyl decals. And so I applied those to the wall so that one of the walls is basically like a large artwork of mine. So using the
Oh,
decals
wow.
magazine images. So I'd love to do more stuff like that. And but yeah, that's up until the end of this month in June. And then yeah, I'm around. I have an events calendar on my website you can check out if you're interested in finding me at a festival. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's
name the festivals. We got the Toronto Outdoor Art Festival. We
yes.
got the Chattanooga Art Fest and Music Festival in Chattanooga, New
That was
York.
Canandaigua, not Chattanooga.
Canandaigua,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
And
Canandaigua is upstate New York. That's coming up in July, and then
okay,
I have a
the
Nashville
Bethesda.
show in September. I'm going to be at Bethesda Row in September as well. And I'm still waiting to hear back from a couple of shows.
That's
Got
awesome.
my list of rejections too. That's the
Oh,
other
yes.
artist, but hey, if you don't get rejections, then you're not putting yourself out there. So
Hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Laura.
yeah, thanks so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you so much. And you have a good day. And I thank you so much for being a part of the Canvas commentary.
Perfect. Yeah, this is great. Thanks for starting this.
My pleasure. I will talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.